in 1 minute. I need to recognize that I am sharing the stage this afternoon with John McBride of Burlington, who, I needed to have a geek and a business guy here to talk big. And among other things, he was part of a micro transit company that started right here in Burlington. So I will say thank you so much, first of all, for being here. It is so important that we join this fierce urgency of now to address the climate crisis. I want to thank you for talking and thinking deeply about transportation and also about talking about equity. Our proposal gives you a chance to act on that and not just talk. I'm the executive director of Capstone Community Action. We are an anti-poverty organization 50 years old, dedicated to addressing social, economic, and climate justice. I've worked for 30 years on the issue of how do we deal with the environmental impacts of transportation as a community planner, as a legislator, as the secretary of transportation, where, by the way, I helped us get started on the TCI. And now I see the world in a different lens, and I recognize that transportation is not only the largest contributor to carbon emissions, it is the biggest barrier to getting people out of poverty. And people, I now see every day a growing number of people literally trapped in poverty, isolated, dislocated, whether it is people trying to get to opiate treatment, committed to recovery, but can't get there. People who cannot get to food and come to our food shelf. People who cannot get to childcare, and people who cannot get to work. And that's the other side of this crisis in this state, workforce. Central Vermont Hospital has 200 open positions. They recognize two things. They need to get people to their place of work, and that one of their biggest cost drivers is people who can't get to their health appointments. Our proposal is to recognize that it is the story of our time that inequality is growing at the same time as our globe is warming, and that our proposal is a pilot to reduce carbon emissions by rapidly expanding electric vehicles while harnessing technology, innovation, and collaboration to get people out of poverty. John will tell you how we're doing.
Thank you. So I'd just like to reiterate what looks like a catch-22 that Sue just mentioned, which is that transportation, as we've been discussing, is the biggest contributor to Vermont's greenhouse gas emissions, and a lack of transportation is cited as one of the most significant barriers to lifting people out of poverty. What we're working on is a shared use transportation asset that's aimed at decreasing carbon emissions while also addressing the mobility gaps that are currently being experienced by Vermont businesses, social service providers, and the people that they're trying to serve. So our intention is to bring car sharing to residents in Washington County with a fleet of electric vehicles. In order to generate enough demand to support a car share partner, we're working to develop a software platform that will enable corporations and NGOs to schedule vehicles and drivers for specific trips, while at the same time acting as a ride-hailing a la Uber and Lyft kind of service for low-income and homebound users. By doing this, we're hoping to provide an energy-efficient and cost-effective means to measurably impact people's access to jobs, to healthcare, to food, to education, to socialization, and to support services at the same time that we're really working to strengthen our local economy. Car sharing is an excellent way of supporting fundamental behavioral changes that lead to reduced carbon emissions, reduced dependency on car ownership, reduced occurrence of single occupancy trips. And so today and beyond here, we're looking for partners to join us in this vital transportation initiative that links climate action with social justice to build a resource in our rural communities that can be life-changing and sustainable.
It's not just the two of us. It's actually a large collaboration. In Washington County, we have a collective impact network, a CAN, pulling together a very large group of entities, providing all kinds of social services. Every single one of these members recognize and say and list as their top priority new models for transportation. We are ready to be the ground foundation of this network to really move this. So we want to invite you to join us, to help us harness this creativity, this opportunity to blend this shared solution to our collective challenges. Thanks very much.